Hey everyone, welcome to the WNP podcast. This is a show where a bunch of idiots discuss all things sports. From crazy predictions to juicy trade rumors, it's all for fun and for the love of the game. Thanks so much for stopping by, and as always, we're not professionals. Hello everyone, welcome to the WNP podcast. I'm your host, Mike Mitchelson, and joining me today, as usual, my co-host, Chase Crawshaw. How you doing today, Chase?
Doing too swell. How are you?
I'm doing all right. I have a feeling this is going to be an interesting episode because we have two goobers with us. First up, we got Alec King. How you doing, Alec?
I'm doing dandy.
Good. I like that with your Xbox headset, you got your microphone right in front. Oh, there you go. Right in front of your mouth. Obviously not talking into that microphone, but it's okay. And then last but not least, we've got the Graham Weaver himself. How you doing, Graham?
I'm doing great. Just quarantining and quarantining with the boys.
Yeah, as we're out in public. Well,
absolutely,
more or less.
absolutely.
Yeah, exactly. So, coronavirus, obviously very scary. So, be safe out there, everyone. We are not following the rules exactly because you're supposed to be, 3 feet away from people?
It's supposed to be 6.
Oh, 6 now?
But, plus or minus 6 feet.
Yeah, that's fine.
Oh, gosh.
As long as we're with the
Sorry.
boys, it's okay. We know who we're with. We're not with any coronavirus infected or infectees. Infectees.
That you think?
Yes.
That we think, yeah. We're just with the boys. But I don't think coronavirus can infect the boys, can it?
No,
No,
I don't
can't.
think so.
Yeah, okay, that's what I was thinking. So, today, NFL episode, we're going to be looking at some free agency, some trades that happened, and then we're going to continue along looking at the draft order and talking about what the Giants should do with that 4, the Dolphins should do with the 5, and the Chargers should do with the 6. If you missed our last episode, we talked about the Bengals, Lions, and Redskins and what they should do with their top pick. Make sure you guys go check that out. And then we're officially on YouTube now, so that's super exciting. Make sure you guys give a like, subscribe, ring that bell so you know when all of our stuff comes out. But let's just hop in right away, guys. Let's talk about the Jaguars first, because we saw that they traded Calais Campbell. A couple days ago, they traded Calais Campbell to the Ravens for a 5th-round pick. Earlier on, they traded A.J. Bouye for a 4th. They also just traded Nick Foles for a 4th to the Bears. It looks like they're really just trying to collapse the team.
Yeah, I don't get this offseason so far for the Jags. It really sucks. I do like the Jags. They got a lot of players that I like. I'm a big DJ Chark guy, big Leonard Fournette guy, big Gardner Minshew guy. So I guess that's just on the offense side. I also love Miles Jack. I liked Jalen Ramsey. He's obviously got traded midseason last year. But this team's just imploding without bringing in anything through free agency. So I don't really know what their plan is. I thought they were in a position to maybe just add a couple pieces and then not contend for a championship, but be a playoff team. But now that's just kind of out the window.
I mean, I don't understand what they're doing either, but in all fairness, they did make a couple decent free agency signings. Like, they went out and signed Joe Schobert, I'm not sure how to say it.
I think it's Schobert.
Darqueze Dennard, who I like a lot. I generally don't understand what they're doing either, because they're dumping all these pieces and then they sign 2 bigger name free agents like that. Also, they don't want to trade Ngakoue, but
Yeah.
why trade the pieces around him? Like, you want him to stay, don't you? Like, why dump off all the people that he's played with?
Yeah, we mentioned that on the pod last week, or was it last week or a couple weeks ago? Whatever the one where we talked about the first 3 draft picks. We talked about Yannick Ngakoue and the issues he's having in Jacksonville, and those haven't even been close to resolved. It's probably been even worse because he got franchise tagged, and we all know how players dislike being franchise tagged to the maximum. So that situation is definitely still a work in progress.
Yeah, and the one thing with you guys' points on bringing in Schobert and Dennard, the one reason I think they bring in Dennard, because they obviously lose Bouye and Ramsey. The only problem, Dennard's a slot corner. Dennard is not a exterior corner. He's not going to be able to run up and down the field with the best wide receivers. He's a very good physical slot corner, but he's not going to be a speed guy that can really defend the exterior. So not really sure what their plan is with him. I assume they want him as, a number 1 or a number 2, not a slot guy. But honestly, I think if they do that, it's just going to blow up in their face.
Yeah, he's not a number 1.
Exactly. So who knows what happens there. Next up, let's talk about the Titans. They franchise tag Derrick Henry and then sign Ryan Tannehill to a 4-year deal that is worth up to $118 million. Your guys' thoughts on that?
Well,
yeah.
coming from a Titans fan, they're the second favorite team after
No.
the hometown Lions. I like it a lot because obviously Tannehill had success there, won comeback player of the year, and it really opened up their offense a lot, and I think it definitely helped Derrick Henry's production. So I think that that was one of the smartest things to do, re-sign him instead of trying to bring in someone else and see what they can do since he's already proven. And the fact that they made a deep playoff push with him at quarterback, I think that's also like a good sign. So I like the signing. A lot of people are saying that they think it's dumb because he's given a lot of money, but you want him to stay, you gotta pay him. So, and they definitely wanted him to stay.
The weird thing with Tannehill, like, he feels like he's been around for so long. He feels like he's an old quarterback, but he's not an old quarterback. So, like, this money really isn't that bad when you think about it. It seems like a little much for a guy who, he struggled. He ended up losing a starting job, took over the starting job once again on a new team halfway through the season, and then you give him near $30 million a year. So it seems a little kind of premature, I guess, is the right word. But it's really not too bad in my opinion. There's definitely worse contracts out there. Like, Dak's gonna get paid way too much money, and I'd rather have Tannehill for this than what Dak's gonna get paid for personally. But it's not too bad. I think he'll be a good enough quarterback for them for at least a few more years, at least the remainder of that contract.
Yeah, I agree. I think one thing I wanted to note on when you were talking about Ryan Tannehill just then is that, yes, I agree that he struggled in Miami, but he took the Titans far in the playoffs. And I think that that's something that you can't just ignore. It's something that can't also be a confirmation on, this guy is the guy. Because, there are one-year wonders. There are guys who... that team is really centered around Derrick Henry, at least in that last playoff run. So I don't think all the credit can be given to Ryan Tannehill. But I think that he played well enough to deserve a contract from the Titans, and I'm glad that he got one. So at this point, it's just trying to see how he pans out there.
I definitely agree, and I think sometimes people forget that when Tannehill was in Miami, he had a couple really good seasons. Under current Bengals coach Zach Taylor, I definitely still think he has talent, and yeah, they are definitely running more through Derrick Henry. But like I said earlier, that totally makes that team more versatile, and that opens up. Derrick Henry helps open up that play action pass. And I definitely think that Ryan Tannehill is their guy and can definitely hit those throws, and he's a good system guy for that.
Yeah, it takes weight off his shoulders.
Yeah, I agree. I don't want to say the contract was too much. I think it is a little bit pricey for a guy that I don't think is ultra talented, but he's a guy that gets you wins in that system with Derrick Henry around him. So I think if you're going to pay for wins, that was the right thing to do, to keep Ryan Tannehill. You don't want to let him go, and then, look at right now, the only quarterbacks that really are left are like Jameis Winston, which, a lot of people don't really want to take the chance on him because he's so turnover prone. Yeah, there was not very good quarterbacks. So I think Ryan Tannehill was a good choice to sign him there, but a little bit too much for me.
One thing just about the Titans real quick that I saw, I read an article yesterday that said that Clowney is actually the two teams that he's narrowed it down to. I don't know if it's necessarily rock solid, but the two teams that it seems like he's narrowed it down to are actually the Titans and the Seahawks.
In the Lions. Reported from Chase.
I actually like talking about a real article here, Chase, not my imagination.
Well,
that would be great for the Titans to get.
Yeah. They also signed Vic Beasley, who I still have some confidence in, so I think that's a really good pickup for them on their defense. But corner is going to be a big problem for them if they don't. They like Dory Jackson, but they lost their top corner, so I think they need to go out and get someone in the draft.
Yeah, most definitely. All right, let's not talk about the Cleveland Browns because really they made the first move in free agency this year. Right when free agency opened up, they signed Austin Hooper from the Atlanta Falcons. We can talk about him, but also some big signings for the Cleveland Browns. They also pick up Jack Conklin, arguably the best offensive tackle in this free agency class. They bring in Case Keenum as a backup quarterback. They bring in Carl Joseph, a younger, strong safety they get from the Raiders, who I'm personally a fan of. And then they also bring in Andrew Billings from the Cincinnati Bengals, a big, strong defensive tackle, more of a nose tackle that will really help the run game. Your guys' thoughts on the Cleveland Browns signings? Chase, we'll go with you first.
So I want to focus primarily on the offense because it was a big monstrosity last year. After trading for OBJ, that offensive line was just a revolving door. I think the Browns have done pretty much as they can right so far this offseason, especially on offense. I think they've had some good defensive pieces too. But when it comes to offense, bring in Austin Hooper, who's going to be primarily a pass catcher, but he's still a decent enough blocker. You got Andy Janovich, is one of the better fullbacks in the league. Got him, pretty cheap, 7th-round pick. Still got Kareem Hunt around. As you said, bringing in Jack Conklin. I think they're doing everything they need to do to set Baker up to go back to what he did his rookie season and try to improve on that. Because last year, I don't think that's Baker's true talent. I think he just had a down year. It is scary. I think he's a good enough quarterback to succeed, get back to what he did his rookie year, maybe be a little better, especially with these weapons around.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the Browns are banking on Baker turning out, kind of getting back up to a good level, a level that we saw flashes of in his rookie year. I think that they want him to be someone that they can count on. Obviously, they want him to be someone that they can count on for years to come. But if they don't, as you said, shore up that O-line, then he's going to be under a lot of pressure. And for a young quarterback like he is, that is gonna mess him up bad.
I think a guy like Jack Conklin, with him being obviously, like Mike said, one of the top offensive linemen available in free agency, I think bringing him in is definitely, it's going to do a lot more than, I think it's going to do a lot more than people are necessarily thinking, because like they had a few good pieces on that O-line. I think they needed one. They still might need another one to like completely shore it up. But I think it is very interesting to me that they are definitely going all in on offense, all in on Baker, because they let Christian Kirksey and Schobert both go. So I definitely think that they want Baker to be their future even after that down year, and they're just throwing everything in there to like make him like be comfortable and be able to perform.
Yeah, and he probably won't because Baker Mayfield's trash, let's be honest.
I mean,
but
coming from a former Baker truther, thinking that he was going to be so good, I do not have confidence in him. I think I still think that his rookie year was kind of a sham, and I think last year showed his true talent, and I still don't think he should have gone first overall.
I don't think he should have gone first overall, but I still think he's a first-round quarterback. I think he's someone that can start for your team and he can get you the results you need.
Obviously, other than Lamar, what other quarterbacks that went after him
Josh
are
Rosen.
better?
Josh Rosen.
Oh, yeah,
That's
Josh
I-
Allen is elite.
I'm still convinced that Sam Darnold would be doing better in that system than
Get
Baker
him,
Mayfield.
get Adam
because
Gase out of there, man.
Baker Mayfield is he's a winner, and I think he's definitely the type of person that should have gone to Cleveland, but I don't think his skill is what they thought it was. That's why I still think Darnold has more skill, even though he hasn't necessarily proved it.
Well,
but
yeah,
you give Darnold the same weapons that Baker has, I guarantee he'd do better.
Yeah, Darnold's the most talented quarterback in that draft. There's no denying that. He just has Adam Butthole Eyes Gase.
Yeah, and who knows what
True.
Baker will do with a Freddie Kitchens-less
That's
offense.
That's a fair
Oh,
point.
Because Freddie
Adam Gase and
Kitchens,
Freddie Kitchens, man.
yikes. So we'll see what happens
guys,
there.
great
But
coaches.
speaking of investing in a young quarterback, the Arizona Cardinals did exactly that. They transition tag, Kenyon Drake, as well as they go out and trade for DeAndre Hopkins. They traded David Johnson. He was the starting back, but he turned into a backup, maybe even a third string at one point last season. They trade him, a 4th-round pick, and a 2nd-round pick for DeAndre Hopkins and a 4th-round pick. So,
Stupid.
yeah.
Like, Bill O'Brien, kick rocks.
I think it is insane to me that within the same week, the Vikings got a first-round pick for Stephon Diggs.
First-round pick plus.
And you
for
couldn't
Stephon
get a first-round
Diggs.
picks
Yeah,
for arguably the best wide receiver in the league.
Top 2 or 3.
definitely top
He's
3, 100%.
no lower than top 3.
It's insane. I don't, and also they
It's
want to bet they
inexcusable.
have a great young quarterback with Deshaun Watson, and they're just cleaning house. Like, why do you do that now? What's the point? Like, yeah, it came out that DeAndre Hopkins was not necessarily happy with his contract, but when you have a receiver like that, you pay him. You don't trade him away.
Yeah, if you're going to pay Amari Cooper the contract that he got, you pay DeAndre Hopkins what he was asking for, which was less than what Amari Cooper got. Like, are you kidding me?
I think Kyler Murray is loving life right now.
Oh, 100%.
I think
Yeah.
the only issue that I see coming up for this offense is the O-line. Obviously, last year it was terrible. Kyler's running around everywhere, getting sacked. Thankfully, he's much more mobile than Cardinals quarterbacks previous. But I think that that's going to be a big need that they need to address in the draft because so far they have not addressed it in free agency. So if they can do that, I think that Kyler and his slew of wide receivers and Kenyon Drake can have a great year.
I agree.
They're in a good position.
Yeah, and I mean, they just drafted Andy Isabella and Hakeem Butler last year in the draft. They still have Christian Kirk, still have Larry Fitz, and now they bring in DeAndre Hopkins. It's got to be one of the most explosive wide receiver rooms in the league. And even when Larry Fitz goes, they're still in a great position. So, really nice move here by the Cardinals. Again, Bill O'Brien, what are you doing? I think we all talked about it once they got eliminated from the playoffs. It was time for them to part ways with Bill O'Brien because he has not been good. The only reason he's still on the team is because Deshaun Watson saved his job. But moving on now, we talk about another big trade. The 49ers, they trade away DeForest Buckner to the Indianapolis Colts for a first-round pick.
Yeah, that's a big one, that's for sure. Yeah, DeForest Buckner, hell of a player, hell of a talent. I mean, I don't know exactly what the Niners are going to be looking for with that pick, but if they feel like they need to shore up the O-line or something with that, then sure, go for it. But I don't know. It was interesting. It came really out of nowhere to me.
Yeah, I don't like. Obviously, I definitely think he is one of the best young defensive tackles in the league. And when I say young, he still is. He's not as young as a lot of people think he is. Like, he wasn't drafted that long ago. He still, but he's 26. And when you're spending a first round pick, I mean,
you still got 8 years out of him.
8? Well, yeah, I think you have 4 years of
elite,
prime, of elite
level. Yeah, but you still get 8 years playing out of him.
That's fair, but I mean, I don't disagree with this because you're getting a 100% proven defensive tackle on your team. It is interesting with the Colts needing a quarterback so bad right now. I mean, they have Phillip Rivers, but how long is that going to last?
They must have waited for next year's quarterback class.
But I definitely think when they made this trade, they were almost 100% sure that they were getting Rivers because I don't see them trading like that if they weren't sure that they were going to get him. So
yeah, I think the thing here is the 49ers were confident on the defensive side of the ball and not so much on their offensive side. They made it to the Super Bowl. They had they had the best defense in the league. And so I think that they were willing to part ways with someone that could get them that first-round pick. They did, and I think that they're going to use it on an O-lineman or a wide receiver.
Yeah, I like it better for the Colts personally, but at the same time, I think it hurts giving up that 13th overall pick. I think it would have been awesome if they could land like a Justin Herbert or a Jordan Love with that 13th overall pick because Jacoby Brissett, obviously not the answer. Phillip Rivers, not a long-term answer. So who knows what's happening there with that 13th, especially with the 49ers. I don't know who they're going to take. Maybe they target one of the top receivers in the draft. Who knows? But I do like it better for the Colts because DeForest Buckner is a monster on the defensive line. He is young, 26 years old, and over the last 2-3 years, he's probably been one of the better interior defensive linemen in the league. So I think this helps the Colts a lot, especially with run stopping, and they got great pieces there on that defense in every level with now DeForest Buckner, Darius Leonard, and Malik Hooker in the secondary. So I'm really liking the look of this defense, and I think the Colts will be a contender soon.
I agree with everything you said, but my thing is Buckner, he was on an expiring contract. Like, obviously he wasn't going to be a free agent this year, but he was on an expiring contract. So it is really interesting to me that they'd give up that high of a pick for a guy on an expiring contract. And yes, they did re-sign him, and he's making over $20 million a year now. But I think that's really abnormal to get that high of a pick for a guy who only had, I think, a year left on his contract when they could have just gone out in free agency.
That's huge money.
Especially for an interior defensive tackle as well.
Yeah, so let's now move on to the Miami Dolphins. They had a lot of big signings. The headline name there is Byron Jones. They also land Jordan Howard, Emmanuel Ogbah, Shaq Lawson, Kyle Van Noy, and of course others. A big free agency class for the Dolphins, and honestly, they got the 3 first-round picks this year. This could be a very quick rebuild.
I think that they have definitely had the best free agency out of any team in the NFL, because another person that you didn't mention is Ted Karras, or Karras, I'm trying to say it, the center from New England. And I think that is one thing that they really need, and I think that's really good that they went out and got him. But also, they got so much on their defense. They also got Eric Flowers for their offensive line, who's proven to be very good. And I think this is going to be one of the quickest turnarounds you're gonna ever see, because Brian Flores, I think, is a top 5 coach in the NFL. I think if he can take a team as bad as historically bad as the Dolphins were last year and actually get wins with them and like compete with some teams, it's crazy to me. And also, they have 3 first-round picks this year and just went out and had a huge free agency. I wouldn't say this year. I mean, I think that there's honestly, there is a chance, as long as the Patriots don't get a quarterback, that they could maybe even win the AFC East. But maybe not. But I do think that there's a chance in the next 3 years that they do win that division.
I think the Bills can be a little frisky. If the thing is with the Dolphins, they have to get Tua to complete this rebuild for this year. They need Tua, and I think that they are going to do whatever it takes. I think we'll talk about it later, but I think that they need to also keep in mind that there's teams below them that want to jump them to get Tua. So they need to be aware of all the situations, because this is going to be one of the most important drafts for them.
Yeah, I don't think they have a chance to win their division this year. Personally, just like my issue is, I think the Bills they've only gotten better this offseason. The Jets are a better team than the Dolphins right now. Just horrible coaching, just pure talent. Pure talent wise, looking at the roster, I would say the Jets are a better team.
I don't necessarily agree with that, because they're only solid. Well, they just re-signed Brian Poole, who I like a lot, who they just re-signed. And Jamal Adams is my favorite defensive player in the NFL. I like him a lot. I think those are the only 2 real pieces they have on their defense. Also, Quinnen Williams, but he had I don't want to say a down year. He had a quiet year. I think he could be better, but I don't see. That's fair. I don't see the Jets. I don't think the Jets are, like, after free agency, I do not think the Jets are more talented than the Dolphins. And also, I don't think that the Bills are ever going to, like, I think that they're going to be a first-round exit in the playoffs for a while. I think that they need, like, something big to happen to take that next step. And I think the Dolphins getting someone like Tua and hitting such a home run in this free agency is their next step. So I think that they're going to be about even with the Bills.
Yeah, and Chase, I know you want to continue on with the Bills topic. Well, why don't we do that right now? Because the Bills acquired Stephon Diggs from the Vikings for a first, a sixth, and a seventh, and a future fifth. Stephon Diggs, is he that big piece that Alec was talking about that can put them over the hump?
I don't know. I don't want to say it's going to put them over the hump. It makes them a better team. There's just no denying that. The fact that they have a legit receiver now. John Brown is not a number 1 receiver, but he had to act as that for the Bills. The fact that they have a legit number 1 receiver, Devin Singletary, coming into his second year where he's going to be given the lead back like role, and he's a talented guy. Josh Allen improved from his first year to his second year. See what he does his third year. Like, the team's in a good position. The team has great defense too. I don't know why you're rolling your eyes. You can't tell me.
Josh Allen.
What about every other player I just mentioned? Okay, yeah, open your ears.
I think the big step that they need to take, get a quarterback who's not Josh Allen. I've said it in previous things. I don't think that he is going to be even a Pro Bowler in the NFL. Like, he will be. Well,
I agree with Chase.
Thank you. His numbers are going to continue to improve as they have, as they continue. They improved through college. They improved so far through the NFL. So his numbers are going to continue to improve. The offense around him is just getting better. The coaching is they're figuring themselves out. The team is the best team in the AFC East right now. You can't deny that.
At the moment, yes, you can't deny that. But the fact that you are saying that his numbers got better through college, his senior year, he's only through 52% completion.
Well, he's in the 60s already in the NFL, so he's getting better.
He's only attempting 20 passes a game or something like that. And Kirk Cousins attempted something like 30 less attempts, but had over 500 more yards, 8 more touchdowns, and 20 or 30 more completions.
Or Kirk Cousins receivers.
Dude. Yeah, and Josh Allen played
and he had Dalvin Cook.
Not a smaller school, but compared to some of the other schools that quarterbacks in the room play, a relatively smaller school, he's not had any receiving talent in his NFL career. So watch what he does this year.
I do agree they went to a smaller school, but I feel like that's more of a reason why he should have done better in college. But that's a past debate.
Well, you can only do so much when your receivers can't catch up to the ball or can't catch the ball or just drop it all the time.
It's awesome that the Bills got Stephon Diggs. I'm a big fan of Stephon Diggs. The issue is that they gave a lot up for him. I mean, they gave a first, a fifth, a sixth, and a fourth for 2021.
Like
That's a lot of picks.
It was that's my main issue with them like coming out of this offseason is like what's this draft gonna be like now. I was excited to see what they could do with their first round pick, but now that it's not an option, it's gonna be interesting to see what they can do.
Yeah, I'm very interested to see how the AFC East shakes up because obviously the Patriots, they lose Tom Brady. Who are they going to go with? Are they going Jarrett Stidham? Are they going to try to make a move for Andy Dalton? Are they going to look for a quarterback through the draft? So a lot of shakeup coming in the AFC East. I think the Bills and honestly the Dolphins are going to be the top two teams in this next coming year. I hope that the Jets can do something. I'm a big Darnold fan, but honestly, I haven't seen it yet. So we'll see what happens there. Let's now talk about Amari Cooper and how he got a 5-year, $100 million deal. That's absurd.
That's a lot of money, but I mean, good for him. It's more than he probably should have gotten, but Cowboys felt like he was an essential piece, so they gave it to him. Now they just got to figure out that debt contract. So between those two, was it worth overpaying for both these guys? They're going to eventually overpay for Dak and just letting Byron Jones walk. I don't know. Was there a way to try to figure out the way to keep all three? Maybe. So it's going to be tough for the Cowboys. Let's see what they can do. But good for Amari Cooper.
Yeah, that makes Amari Cooper the second highest paid receiver in the league, averaging $20 million, only above him, Julio Jones, $22 million. Sorry, Alec, continue.
Very good. I think that I like Amari Cooper a lot. I think the only way they could have kept him is paying him big money like that. I think he probably would have gone out and got that, if not more, from somewhere else. Yeah. But I still think that signing Dak to they franchise tagged him right at the moment,
yeah.
And they're obviously going to give him a contract. But I think he's going to be the highest paid quarterback in the NFL.
Which is a joke.
How can you say that Dak Prescott is the highest paid quarterback in the NFL?
Yep. Agreed. 100%.
I definitely think that they should have let him walk and kept Byron Jones because Byron Jones is a young, he's one of the best. I think he is a top 10 corner in the NFL, and that's harder to find than it is, especially since next year there are two insane quarterbacks who I definitely think would be a better fit for the Cowboys.
I disagree with what you said. One thing is they're not going to get a quarterback next draft. They're going to be drafting too high. And second of all, I don't think that Dak is as bad as people would like to think. I think he's extremely up and down. He's very inconsistent. But his highs are pretty high and his lows are pretty low. I think we'll have to see how he does under Mike McCarthy this year. And after that, we can make a judgment. Right now, I think he struggled. Zeke needs to come back and be the running back he was. I think last year he didn't reach that level with all the contract negotiations and the holdouts and all that. So we'll have to see. But I think that it was the right decision sticking with your quarterback rather than sticking with a cornerback. They have a very good defense. And I think that some other pieces can kind of make up for the loss of Byron Jones up until they most likely draft one in this upcoming draft, or whatnot. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes.
My thing is I don't think Dak's a winner. He brought a team with an insane defense, a great top receiver, arguably the best running back in the NFL, top 3 offensive line. He brought them to an 8-8 season. And yes, some of the blame can go to Jason Garrett because he is a horrible coach. But all the arguments for the Lions is that Stafford can't bring us over that hump. I never think Dak Prescott is even worse than Stafford, and I don't think he will ever be able to get them to that point.
I think Jason Garrett is even more inconsistent than Dak Prescott. So as a coach, I mean, I'm willing to give Dak Prescott another chance to show what he has under a different coach. Obviously, Mike McCarthy, yeah. I don't know if he was the best decision, but
no,
I mean, like I said, I'm willing to give him another shot, see what he's got. I want him to bring his lows up to okay or average, and I want him to bring his pretty high up to high. And if he can do that, then I think the Cowboys will be the contenders that they should be with that roster.
I honestly think this last season that he had was kind of his ceiling as an NFL quarterback. I don't think it might get slightly better. I don't think it gets very much better than this. It's like he's fine, but he's He's not special enough to help carry your team to a playoff win, help carry your team, through a championship. But the only issue is moving on this offseason, like Alec recommended, is just it's tough to do because like he still is young and he still has produced. Not like he's been like bad, so it's hard to just move on from a guy like that, and especially when there's no one waiting and right behind him or can't bring in any free agents. So it's tough to do. Like they're just in kind of a tough spot, really.
My biggest thing is, like, I agree that that's probably his ceiling because he threw for almost 5,000 yards. I think it was like 4,900, something like that. Yeah. I'm pretty sure he did break the 30 TD mark. And I think that, like, the fact that he can do that, throw for almost 5,000 yards, throw 30 touchdowns, and still have an 8-8 record, that's crazy to me. And I hate to say this coming from a Lions fan, but that's very Matthew Stafford-esque. You can have, like, insane, pretty solid stats and then have a horrible record.
Oof.
Yeah, but the difference between Stafford and Dak is Stafford's the one getting them those wins, and Dak is the one getting them those losses.
Facts.
That's what I said, and you just disagree with me a minute ago when I said that.
Well, I mean,
I literally just said that, and you're like, no, I don't know about that.
No, I'm saying that Dak is the reason why they're getting the losses, and plus Jason Garrett, obviously, but I'm not saying that he's done for. I'm saying that he still has a chance to turn it around.
I'm not saying that
I'm not a fan of Dak Prescott.
I am not saying that he's done for. I think he can be a solid quarterback.
Well, you said you wanted them to move on for him, man.
Because of how much money he wants. He does not deserve that much money at all. That's my thing. Because if they sign him to a huge contract like that, they're stuck with him for a while. They're not going to have cap for a long time, and they're going all in on a quarterback who I don't think can win them a playoff game.
True, but if they let him go now, they're doomed. If they can tag him and continue negotiations, then maybe they can bring it down a little bit.
They'd be doomed for a season, and maybe 2, because their defense is still so good.
But they're still in a contending spot right now, so I think they had to lock up.
If they wait another season, then you never know how that roster is going to turn out.
The one thing for me is I think Dak should stay because you always hear you want to have a top 2 quarterback in your division. I think he is that. I like him better than Haskins. I like him better than Daniel Jones. I think it is pricey. He turned down $30 million. I think that's stupid. I do prefer him over Ryan Tannehill. Ryan Tannehill got 29.5. He's much younger. He's a good game manager and a guy that works very well in his system, like Ryan Tannehill. We just talked about how Ryan Tannehill is in a great system with Derrick Henry, where he doesn't need to be the best player on the field because he has a good system around him, and he got 29.5. So I like Dak Prescott where he's at. I do think it's going to be quite pricey, and they may have to move on sooner than later. But as of right now, they're a contending team, and I think they should continue to try to contend for a playoff and Super Bowl opportunity with Dak Prescott. So that's my thoughts on it.
I have one quick thing, and kind of like, I don't know if you want to end on this or not, but the fact that their defense, yes, it is so good, but they have so many young people. Like they have Jalen Smith and Leighton Vander Esch, who are both going to need.
Jalen Smith already got re-signed.
That's true, yeah. But someone like Leighton Vander Esch is going to deserve top linebacker money when his contract comes around, and they're not going to be able to sign him if they have someone like Dak on the books, already with Cooper on the books for like being the second highest paid receiver in the NFL.
Yeah, and we just saw Byron Jones. He had to leave because they couldn't pay him. So we'll see what happens there. But let's now move on to talking about 2 quarterbacks quickly, and then we'll move on to 2 final teams, and then we'll get into the draft process. But 2 quarterbacks. We mentioned Tom Brady no longer on the Patriots. Where'd he go? He's on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. 2 years, $50 million, fully guaranteed. Big contract there. And then Teddy Bridgewater, he goes over to the Carolina Panthers. He's going to get a lot of help from Joe Brady and new coach over there, Matt Rule. So what are you guys' thoughts on these 2 quarterbacks?
Tom Brady's not going to have a fun time in Tampa Bay.
See, I don't think he's going to have that bad of a time because obviously he has better receivers, but I do think that he's not great. He can't throw a deep ball. I do think it's really helpful that he has a basically younger, faster, more talented version of Julian Edelman with Chris Godwin, but Mike Evans is not the type of receiver that he throws to normally, or he ever has thrown, or hasn't thrown to since Randy Moss.
Even like Randy Moss had a struggle some seasons. Tom Brady, he obviously had that unreal season too, but he still had a struggle someone with him.
And I am a fantasy owner of both those receivers in Dynasty, and I like the signing for Chris Godwin, but I don't like I said, I don't like it for Mike Evans because I just think Mike Evans is the kind of guy where you just got to chuck it deep, and Brady's not able to do that anymore.
I'm a fantasy owner of Tom Brady, and he ain't starting, buddy.
Yeah, no, I'm.
Matthew Berry says he's going to be top 12.
Well, I also have Patrick Mahomes, so
Yeah, well.
I mean, like,
Yeah, it's interesting. I feel like if he was gonna go anywhere, like this is a pretty solid place to go because at least you're finally gonna have like a true talented receiver who fits the way like you've played the game your whole NFL career. It's just gonna be interesting to see what he can do out of Belichick's system. Obviously, he's never played outside of it in the NFL. If they can really shore up the running game this year, like or however they're gonna figure it out, whether it's through free agency or through the draft, if they can figure that out and then find a way to get what's his nuts, OJ Howard back into the passing game, then like they could be in a good position.
I do think it's really helpful that the Buccaneers have two pretty talented tight ends. Like I still think Cameron Brate's a talented tight end.
Yeah, he's fine.
Because obviously Brady loves throwing to that tight end, so I think OJ Howard's going to have a really big year. I think he's going to be one of Brady's go-tos. And also their offensive line is already pretty solid and not super old, so I think that's also a helpful thing for Brady there.
Yeah, that's just one thing that Arians is going to have to do is be willing to adjust because Arians doesn't really like throw to his quarterback's throwing to the tight end too often, so he has to adjust for Tom Brady because Tom Brady has an obvious history of throwing to the tight end.
yeah, this is something that we have been waiting for. I know I mentioned it on an earlier pod that I want to see what Brady is like without Belichick and Belichick without Brady, and this is going to be so fun.
Yeah, it's just small. It just sucks that it happened so late in his career. Is all I want to throw in.
I agree.
True.
I think that him going to the Buccaneers and having Bruce Arians be his coach is I think that's one of the better places he could have gone. I think outside of someone like Andy Reid, like a seasoned coach, I think that's a solid transition for a coach for him.
Also, the 2-year contract thing, like this is gonna be interesting. I thought he may be like a one and done, but like, if he plays 2 years and still keeps trying to play after that too, like, come on.
I want Brady to play till he's 50 now that he's not on the Patriots.
That's the rumors. I mean, his contract has a no trade clause, and he can get out. He can't be franchise tagged, and he's said that he's still thinking about playing after those 2 years. So
that's nuts.
If he can be at least average, like he will continue to play because he's Tom Brady. Even if he's below average, he'll continue to play because he's Tom Brady. So like he legit might play another 10 years in the NFL.
Yeah, I'm excited to see where it goes, especially him and Belichick split up. I'm just worried he's not going to go on top. You saw J.J. Watt like 4 years ago. He said once he knows he's starting to dip in his play, he's going to retire and get out of there. He doesn't want to go out and freaking look awful in his last season.
Eli Manning.
Yeah, exactly.
He's tainted his whole record.
Yeah, and I'm very afraid Brady might do the same. Hopefully not. But let's not talk about Teddy Bridgewater. He goes over to the Panthers. He's the new quarterback over there. And the Panthers announced that they let Cam Newton look for trades. Cam Newton came out and said they're forcing me to look for trades. So Cam Newton era done in Carolina. And one thing with going with Teddy Bridgewater, it kind of looks like either they didn't try or they tried very little to go get Joe Burrow. And I think all of us agree they should have tried their absolute hardest to get Joe Burrow to match with Joe Brady.
Yeah, I think they tried very little. I still am on the wagon of saying the Bengals should have picked up Joe Brady because, like, why not, honestly? But they obviously didn't try very hard. And it's going to be really weird seeing Cam Newton in a New England Patriots uniform next year.
You are so dumb. Andy Dalton is going to be this quarterback there.
Why not both?
Yeah, there you go.
That's fine.
2-quarterback system for the Patriots.
Yeah, they can both line up under center, like just toss it back and forth, see who wants to chuck it down.
Yeah,
like
quarterback by committee.
Yeah. That'd be nuts. But I'm a big Teddy Bridgewater guy. I think I've mentioned it in previous pods that I really like him. I do think that Burrow is going to be the better quarterback, but I do think that the Panthers are a very solid place for him to go because he has the most versatile running back in the NFL with Christian McCaffrey.
Who? Jordan Scarlett.
Oh yeah,
that's who it is.
He also has two great young receivers with both DJ Moore and Curtis Samuel. I think that's really helpful. I don't know what his running ability is anymore because ever since his injury, he hasn't really run that much. But before his injury, he was a semi-mobile quarterback, and I think if he can return to that, that's very helpful for the Panthers scheme, and I think that he can be a solid quarterback there. I definitely think it's going to be kind of like a Tennessee Titans situation where he's going to take second fiddle to the running game, obviously because they had to do that last season, and it definitely worked for Christian McCaffrey. Dude's insane. He's a freak, durable, can touch the ball 30 times a game and still not get tired.
Yeah, but there's no way he can get that load again. Dude, he touched the ball so much. How do you not get hurt?
I mean,
eventually?
that's why I think it's good that they got Teddy Bridgewater, because I think that
That's
Teddy Bridgewater can still throw it deep. He can still they can do option plays. I don't know because you haven't seen much, but I definitely think that was a good signing that can fit that scheme really well.
That's crazy that you mentioned that because Christian McCaffrey, he was an Iron Man last season, dude. He got so many carries and so many catches.
It's nuts.
The one thing that really worries me is the last time you saw someone like that was Todd Gurley, and how...
Yeah, but it's a little different because Todd Gurley's got the arthritis, which...
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing. Like, how do you know he didn't develop that because of that, like, touching the ball that much and getting that type of workload?
Like, he did develop... He developed it, like, from, like, playing football. Like, he started seeing the signs as, like, his... Like, towards the end of his college career, like, going into, like, his pro career. Like, if he was born with it, it would have been noticed earlier in his life, unless doctors completely neglected it. So, like, it had to have been developed from football, or he just had really bad doctors his whole life. So...
Well, I don't think a doctor is going to do a checkup on an 8-year-old and be like, oh yeah, he's got arthritis.
You'll be surprised.
Like, it'd be through X-rays and stuff.
No, but like arthritis is pretty, like, it's not like, I don't want to say it's common, but it's more common than you think it is among young people. Like, I know a few people that have, like, I don't know the exact name of, like, the condition, but like
Graham.
it's Graham's a nub.
He has arthritis of the brain.
True.
What is going on here?
But yeah, it's like a child's version of arthritis, and you have it like through your whole life. I don't remember the exact name, but like it's more common.
Arithmetic.
Arithmetic.
Yeah.
There we go. Yeah.
But so, like, and if it would have been something like that, the doctors would have seen it before he was that far in his pro career, or in his football career.
Maybe. So, and yeah, he got cut and went to the Falcons, but we didn't talk about that. But back to Teddy Bridgewater. I don't think he's got high-end ceiling talent, so I think in a couple years or so they're going to be looking for another new quarterback. I mean, they do the same if they had Cam Newton, so I think it's nice to try to give him another chance, but I don't think he's going to be, the franchise quarterback for long.
No, I agree. I like this as a couple year transition type thing. Maybe wait for Mr. Baby Manning to come along. You can use him for a couple years. Wouldn't that be exciting?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So we'll see.
Let's now move on to talk about two more teams. We got two more teams to talk about here before we move on to the draft, and that is the Detroit Lions.
Who?
We saw them make a big trade just yesterday. They no longer have Big Play Slay. Well, Little Play Slay. Let's be honest.
Agreed.
No,
Little Play
it's
Slay.
Big mouth, but little play Slay.
Big douche canoe Slay.
Wow.
There you go.
And how quickly
the
Detroit
turntables.
turns on Big Play Slay. But
Big mouth Slay.
yeah, I was torn on this at first. Obviously, the city of Detroit loves Slay. We drafted him. He struggled, and then he became one of the best corners in the league. And it sucks because the relationship between him and Matt Patricia obviously was soiled. You can say what you want about it, whether it be Slay being soft or Matt Patricia being way too tough. I tend to side with the former, as do some of the other guys here. I know that, yeah, I think it's tough. I think the writing was on the wall. He had a down season. Contract negotiations were stalled, and obviously with that Desmond Trufant signing, it's kind of
yeah. And he's getting older too, which you're not going to pay big money to an older guy.
29-year-old wanting to be the highest paid corner in the league.
But before we take it off, I just wanted to mention he was traded for a 2023 and a 2025 from the Eagles. So Chase, you can continue.
Yeah. So the Trufant signing makes the transition a lot easier. If you just had to move on from Slay without having a guy transition that would be tough. I think the third. I don't think the third and the fifth is the value that Slay is. But being on an expiring contract, I'm sure they surveyed the market. That's what they get for him. So if that's what you can get for him, fine. It's still the Lions. They got the 85th pick. Plus, I don't know what the later pick exact number is.
It was like
150 or something. Is this one right?
I'm not quite.
I don't know, but regardless, they got the 85th pick, which is like obviously the more valuable one. That's still a pretty high pick and a pretty talented and deep draft where they can. Lions can show up, some of their shortcomings, some of their deficiencies. So I'm okay with it. Hopefully, Oruwariye takes another big step this year. Okuda's probably the guy going to Lions in the first round, unless something crazy happens. So at the end of the day, it's something that I'm okay with.
Yeah. I said we kind of talked about it in one of our group chats a little bit, and I said I definitely think Slay was worth a little bit more, but I'm happy we did get that much, because even if we did not trade him now, I don't think he would have played for us this year. I think he would have held out.
There's no chance.
And so it's good we got that high of a pick instead of just waiting for him to just hold out and then get nothing.
He made it very publicly known that he wanted out.
Yeah.
So,
see it
kind of took a lot of leverage, and we were still able to get a third and a fifth out of it. The whole situation just kind of sucks because he's airing out his dirty laundry on the way out. But, Slay is a very vocal guy, especially on Twitter, and those are the kind of guys, as we've seen with Snacks, with Quandre, that they don't really like those guys in the culture. So, I mean, it is what it is.
Yeah, and I like the signing of Desmond Trufant that you guys mentioned. I also like bringing on Danny Shelton and Jamie Collins. You bring in Chase Daniel to be your backup because David Blau and Jeff Driscoll didn't really get it done last year when Stafford went down. One thing I do want to talk about, though, is you guys are huge components of getting Okuda, especially if you can trade down with the Dolphins and get 100%. Another pick and get Okuda. My one question for you guys is the Vikings, in-division rival. You guys take a secondary position from them. The Bengals take 2 secondary players from them. They cut Xavier Rhodes. Their secondary is extremely weak right now. What happens if the Vikings trade up to jump over you guys to take Jeff Okuda?
To 2?
Then we get...
Or if you guys trade down.
Well, if we trade down, I don't think the Giants are trading out of 4.
I don't think so either.
They definitely want...
I don't think...
We'll talk about the...
I mean, this is coming up.
Yeah.
This is coming up.
But here's the thing. The Vikings have Mike Hughes, and that's it. Their secondary is awful. I mean, they have Harrison Smith, but he's old. They've got Mike Hughes, who's a younger guy who hasn't proved much, and then everyone else is gone. They need someone, and I wouldn't be surprised at all if they do all that they can to get the best corner that we've seen in the last couple of years.
That's why your exact reasoning, saying right now that they don't have anything, is exactly what
in the secondary. That's all I'm saying. Well, they've got a lot of other things. They got picks. They got everything.
They don't have cap space. That's one thing. I don't think that they have the. Just wait. I don't think that they have the resources or are willing to give up the resources to get him because of the fact that they don't have cap space and they won't for a while. So, if they go out and trade him, they're going all in on a corner. What are they going to do with all the other important positions when they don't have draft capital anymore to trade up to that point and don't have cap space to get any more people?
It's an interesting situation that you mentioned. I don't think that this has been mentioned at all, and I don't really see it happening.
That's all I had to say. Okay, great. Thanks. So I think the move for the Vikings, honestly, in this draft is get AJ Terrell, where you can get him a little later on. He's still a talented corner. You don't
CJ Henderson.
See, I like CJ Henderson too, but AJ Terrell's a guy that I do really like, and you can get him. You can get him in the second round, possibly. That's pretty good value there. You don't have to give up the farm to try to get Okuda, who looks like he could be a very great corner. But if you don't have to give up the farm and you can still get a guy who has potential to be a number 1, you might as well do that.
The thing is, with cap space, they got rid of so much cap. They got rid of Stephon Diggs. They cut Linval Joseph. They cut Xavier Rhodes. All their secondary players got signed elsewhere. They've got cap. And the one thing that put this thought in my mind is look at last year when the Pittsburgh Steelers traded up to 10 over the Bengals, who had 11, to take Devin Bush.
Well, yeah,
Michigan man.
That's a different scenario, though, because
I don't think it is.
The Lions are at 3. Okay, the Lions are at 3.
But if they trade down, which is likely,
if they trade down, they're trading down to 6 max.
Yeah.
Which is the Chargers, or they're trading with the Dolphins at 5. I don't think that the Giants are trading out of 4 because they need that 4th pick.
And obviously, first pick.
They don't need it, especially with the
Redskins are not going to trade with the Vikings.
The amount
to get out of 2
good offensive tackles that are in this draft, I think the Giants could trade with the Vikings and still get a great offensive tackle.
I don't think they're going to, though.
Yeah, I don't think they will either. I definitely.
You can, but you need to trade down.
that they want one specific guy, and we'll talk about that later, who it is, and they're going to do whatever they can to get him. And that means not trade down.
Interesting. I don't think they have a.
Well, there's two that I am
So,
convinced
I mean,
of.
I'm not saying this is going to happen or anything.
Yeah.
I'm just saying it's a fun scenario to look
It
at,
is.
especially for me, because it happened to me last year as a Bengals fan. And, you know, you guys, I think, need Okuda now that Slay is gone. I mean, you bring in Trufant, but he's injury prone and getting older. So,
Yeah.
the secondary position
He's
is
cheaper.
nowhere near shored up for the Detroit Lions. And I think it
It's-
would be absolutely insane if the Vikings, who are in the same position as you guys with no secondary pieces for the
Oh, give
future.
me a break. Come on. They're
have
not in the
more than
same
the
position.
Vikings.
Harrison Smith's
Trufant-
the best secondary player out of both teams. Harrison Smith. And then I'll take Mike Hughes over Oruwariye and Desmond Trufant and any of that.
I don't think I'd take him over
I don't think
Trufant.
I don't think so either.
Over a guy who's injury prone and got let go by the Falcons who have an awful secondary? I think
Well-
you guys are too high on the Lions.
Okay, well, there's no way that the Vikings are gonna be able to even trade up. To
Yeah,
the-
I know. I
to
just
the
said it was a
top.
fun scenario
I know,
to look
I know.
at.
But like just to.
I think they're in similar positions. You guys
Hold on,
need
hold on.
someone good.
The amount of capital that the Vikings would have to right now they have 2 first rounds. They have 22 and 25, 22 from Buffalo, for Stephon Diggs, and they're definitely, if they want to get up into the top 5, which they're going to have to do to take Okuda from the Lions, which it's a ton. So I don't see it happening. It's fun. Not for me, but it's a cool scenario.
Yeah, all right. Let's now move off of the Lions and talk about the Cincinnati Bengals, because this was the first year in 17 million years that they actually did something in free agency. So they go out and get arguably the top name in the defensive tackle market, DJ Reader. They take him from the Texans. They go out and get 2 cornerbacks from the Minnesota Vikings, Trey Waynes and Mackenzie Alexander, both younger guys that haven't proven anything big, but the Bengals are hoping that they can turn that around. They also go out and get an offensive lineman from the Cowboys. He was a backup for a while, and there's not a lot of high hopes for Bengals fans on him. But it's interesting to see the Bengals actually doing something. Their kind of GM talked about how the Bengals are actually going to be active this year. It looked like after the first 2 days that was a lie, but they changed that around quickly.
Yeah, they've got some good pieces in. Again, DJ Reader, obviously, hell of a player, hell of a talent. Good they can keep AJ Green around. Hopefully, they can work out a longer-term deal here pretty soon. But the main issue still is just that offensive line really needs to improve. So that they're going to have to try to hit on it where they can in the draft, as they've not hit on it in free agency like I was hoping that they would. So that was the biggest issue in my opinion. I mean, the quarterbacks obviously were a struggle last year too, but that's a result of the offensive line being so bad. So if they can't shore up that offensive line for the incoming rookie Joe Burrow, who's going to be the immediate starter, he could be in some real trouble next year.
I mean, I think the O-line's not going to be as big of a problem as you might think it is, only because they do have Jonah Williams coming back. That's one really
That's
big
true.
piece. Also, they signed Xavier Suafilo, I think that's how you say it, from the Cowboys, who I think will definitely start for them because he showed talent. Also, Michael Jordan on the Bengals, he showed some good flashes last year. So I definitely think that if they can maneuver it the right way and get all 3 of those guys on the line at the same time, then it will be a solid offensive line. I also think that they're going to use a 2nd-round pick on an offensive lineman, especially with how deep it is this year. So honestly, I mean, I've seen a lot of things saying that that's going to be one of their biggest issues, but I genuinely just don't think it is. I think that people are really underselling their offensive line.
And Trey Hopkins showed he could be very good on that center position for the Cincinnati Bengals. Who knows if that happens? The one thing that this shows me, though, and should show a lot of people, is that the Bengals are trying to prove to Joe Burrow, who they will likely take with the first overall pick, that they are here to win. They're going to go out and pay money for the first time in forever to try to show everyone, including their draft picks, that, hey, we're here to win. We're not going to sit back and be okay with mediocrity, even though it seemed like that was the case for many, many years.
That's very fair. I do agree that they're doing their best to try to, build as good of a team they can. I do also forgot to mention that linebacking core is still atrocious. That really needs to be figured out too. because if you have a terrible linebacking core, it's hard to win a game on defense, and I don't.
Lions have been proving that for years, huh?
Yes, they have. They definitely need to improve that linebacker core. However they can. I don't know how that's going to be done exactly though.
Yeah, the one thing that I do like is obviously linebackers big help in the run game, and now the Bengals adding DJ Reader on that defensive line. He's not a linebacker, but he's one of the best run stuffers in the league. So him with Geno Atkins and then Dunlap and Lawson off the edge with Hubbard there too. I think that defensive line could be very, very good. They add some secondary pieces to try to help there. Still got William Jackson. They got Jesse Bates, the unsafety out there. This defense could be in for a little bit of a resurgence. But yeah, offensive line and linebacker definitely the main issue for them. So we'll see what happens there. But let's now move off of free agency and talk about the draft. We'll first talk about the Giants, then we'll go to the Dolphins, and then we'll go to the Chargers. So originally when we did Lions, Bengals, and Redskins, we talked about what they should do in free agency as well as at the draft. Well, free agency is still up, still alive, but kind of winding down a bit, so we're not going to hit on what they should do in free agency. We're going to talk majorly on what they should do with their first-round picks. So, Alec, we'll start with you. Who do you think the Giants should target with that fourth overall pick?
There are two players I think they should target, either Tristan Wirfs or Mekhi Becton. I mean, I think Becton's a physical freak, but I think Wirfs is maybe a better fit for them. I mean, he also proved that he is a freak at the combine. He did really well. But I definitely think that they'd obviously have to go offensive line, and I'd be willing to bet that's going to be one of those guys. I don't think that they're going to trade out of those spots because they want to make sure that they get the one they want. I don't know which one it is that they want, but I think both either him or either Tristan Wirfs or Mekhi Becton are both going to be stellar picks for them at 4.
Chase Graham?
Yeah, I almost 100%. I think I do 100% agree with Alec. I had them going with Tristan Wirfs at 4. I think early on a lot of people had Isaiah Simmons going to them, but just this free agency period they signed Blake Martinez, so I think that shuts the door on that a little bit. I think their main goal should be to protect Daniel Jones and be able to develop him. So I think taking Tristan Wirfs will help that supremely.
Yeah, I agree. Tristan Wirfs, I think, has to be the guy. He's my favorite offensive lineman in this draft. I do still think there's a slight possibility Isaiah Simmons goes there. I don't want to completely rule it out, but it's definitely significantly less likely than it was prior to free agency. But just because he's just such a talented, versatile player, he might work. He might work well for the Giants. You know, they have a guy kind of like that with Jabril Peppers already. Have another one, in that backfield would help. But I think you got to protect the young quarterback, especially if you think Daniel Jones is the guy. You got to protect him. So Wirfs is probably the move.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting that you guys didn't mention a name. I mean, it's probably because you're Lions fans, but Jeff Okudah I think is a name here too, if he's not gone already. Just because that secondary is very weak, and they just lost DRC and Landon Collins over the last year. So I think they need to shore up that a little bit. They brought in DeAndre Baker. He was underwhelming in his rookie year. I think Okudah could be a name to look at, but if they do go offensive linemen, I think they probably go Wirfs. I am kind of surprised that Andrew Thomas has fallen out of the conversation because everyone that I listen to, at least, or scouts, say that Andrew Thomas is the most perfected lineman right now. He may not have the highest ceiling like Wirfs or Becton, but if you want a guy that starts right away and is going to be good for you right away, I think Thomas is the way to go. So interesting to see him not be really brought up in your guys, and then as well as the mock drafts. We haven't seen him going super high anymore just because, Wirfs and Becton, they have such a high ceiling compared to Thomas. He's closer to his ceiling already, but he's better than them as of right now.
See, my thing with the Okudah thing, the reason I say that the Giants will be getting him, I'm just assuming that 1, 2, and 3 didn't get traded, and if 1, 2, 3 don't get traded, the Lions are taking Jeff Okudah. There's just no ifs, ands, or buts about it. So that's why I just didn't even consider that a possibility.
Okay.
Yeah, I think you mentioned that they traded or they lost Landon Collins in free agency. Am I correct? Yeah. So I mean they got. He's not the best, but they got Jabril Peppers in the OBJ trade, who can cover running backs a bit. He's obviously not the best. And so if they're taking any secondary player, I don't think it's Okuda. I think it's more Isaiah Simmons, who is obviously a safety linebacker hybrid. But I think that rather than a cornerback, I think they would take him first.
I agree.
They also lost DRC, who was a corner. So
Yeah, true.
that's why I bring that up, because he's by
He's not
Okuda.
a special corner, though, by any means.
Exactly. And if they're releasing not a special corner, that just shows how weak they are there.
That's true.
And I think Okuda is by far the best secondary player in this draft, so I think that's why the name is brought up. I think it'd be scary for Lions fans. I'd want to take Okuda at 3, honestly, because you never know what the Giants are going to do. Even though mock drafts continuously show that they're going to go offensive linemen, you don't know for sure. Also, teams that are weak in that secondary, if the Lions trade back, who knows? They could trade up. I think it's scary. I would want to stay at 3 and take Okuda at 3.
Yeah, I think Dave Gettleman will do whatever he wants, and he doesn't care about anyone else's opinion, as shown last year when he passed on Dwayne Haskins to take Daniel Jones. So
I still
Exactly.
I didn't like Daniel Jones at the time, but Daniel Jones kind of grew on me throughout the year.
Yep.
He's
So.
Eli. So
I think he's got
A more mobile
little-
Eli.
Yeah.
a little more of a ceiling than Eli. But
I think that's the exact reason
But
Gettleman
still-
went with him.
Eli's ceiling is Super Bowl champion, so
yeah, but did he win that
Two-time
Super Bowl? The
champion
9
Daniel
and 7,
Jones.
the 9-7 New York Giants carried by Eli Manning.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So let's now move on to the Miami Dolphins. We're only going to be talking about their number 5 pick, and I think most people agree that the Dolphins should go quarterback here. But what are your guys' thoughts? Anything different?
They should draft Jonathan Taylor right here. No, it's if they don't trade up like to an earlier pick, it's Tua here. There's no way it's anybody else.
100%.
I mean, I agree with that, but I also think that there's like maybe the Chargers might jump them and draft Tua.
Yeah.
So, but if they don't go Tua, they're going Herbert. Like, no, it's between those two. There's
Yeah,
almost no argument like anywhere else.
I did think about that. Obviously, there's a chance that the Chargers jump to the, let's say 3. Because obviously all they have right now is Tyrod Taylor, who is not a good quarterback, in my
He's a
opinion.
beauty.
Just kidding.
He's a beauty. He's on
So
my dynasty team.
Uh-huh.
He's a beauty who's on my dynasty team.
Oh, yeah, he's terrible. Yeah, I think if we're what we're doing is obviously we're just talking about the picks and where they are. If there's no trades, Tua is at 5. Simple.
I do think that, like, Tyrod Taylor real quick, I do think that he's serviceable enough for them to keep him this year and maybe go after a quarterback next year. Personally,
He couldn't start for the Cleveland Browns.
he did start for the Cleveland
Did,
Browns.
and then
He lost
then
his job.
to the first overall pick.
Yeah.
Who's
Who
trash?
Stunk.
Who had
Okay,
the best
okay.
rookie
He
year?
had the best
cornerback
rookie
year.
year. He had the best
I'm really
rookie
going
year for a
against what I said
quarterback
earlier.
ever. But I do think that Tyrod Taylor is serviceable enough and decent enough.
Wait, are we
of a
talking about the
starter.
Dolphins or the Chargers?
Well, he was talking about
Well,
Tyrod Taylor, so I was just kind of touching on that real quick.
Are you
Well,
going to
that's
talk
the
about
next
the
pick.
Chargers?
I
That's
honestly
next
forgot my point.
Yeah, exactly. So you shush.
It was something
We'll talk
Tyrod
about
Taylor
him.
related. If I think about it,
With the Dolphins, they need to go quarterback here. I think you could have seen something a little bit different. They maybe go offensive lineman if the offensive lineman draft wasn't so deep. You got 5-6 players that are all right there at the same level for offensive tackle. I think they can address that at pick 18.
100%.
If it wasn't this deep, I think maybe they go offensive tackle here and address the quarterback later on with like a Jordan Love at 18 or something. But because it's so deep, I agree. Go Tua or Herbert. I would probably rather see Tua. I'd probably rather see Tua and the teal and orange, but we'll see what happens. All right, we can now get back onto the topic of the Chargers and Tyrod Taylor. Tyrod Taylor's trash, and they're going to take Justin Herbert here. Simple as that.
They are
I
gonna pick this
agree.
over here, and Tyrod Taylor is the perfect transition quarterback because Herbert's not ready. Tyrod Taylor, he's good enough where he can start for a year. He can help you win some games, but you're probably not going to championship, and he can do enough to help your young quarterback realize what it's like to be a pro.
What?
Help him in the running game. Tyrod is a decent running quarterback. He's a decent throwing quarterback. He can just kind of help him shape himself a little bit. And the following year, Herbert takes over as the number 1 and ready to roll.
Hold on. I just want to make sure I heard you right. You said Tyrod Taylor cannot get you to a championship?
I did say that, unfortunately.
That's a
Huh?
hot take.
Did you see him on the Bills when he took him to like 7 and 9?
Yeah,
Yeah,
sure,
come on.
he's a beauty.
They expanded the play. Oh wait,
They did
the
expand
expansion of playoffs starts next season, correct?
Yeah.
Next season he can get them to the
So,
playoffs.
how Tyrod Taylor's whole career is going to end up being just getting slapped in the face by a rookie,
Yeah.
like for the rest.
Yeah,
That's so
just like Joe
hard. It's so
Flacco.
bad.
Just like Joe Flacco.
Absolutely,
Joe Flacco was elite.
Was.
and always will be.
But he just got waived.
He's also elite. He
They
waved
said
to us.
bye.
Yeah.
He's
Um,
elite in our hearts, guys. That's all that
yeah,
matters.
I think Tyrod Taylor is. I think it's gonna be a similar situation with Flacco, Drew Lock. I think Tyrod starts the first 9-10 games, and then they're like, all right, let's bring in Justin Herbert. Because do I think he's ready to start first year? No, but I don't think Tyrod Taylor is good enough to hold him back all season. So I think he starts eventually later on in the season.
Once they're out of the playoff push, I think.
I genuinely like hope that Herbert does go to the Chargers or
So
somewhere
Ideal
with
position.
decent receivers, because of he's my, like we've talked about. He's like, I think he's most of our favorite quarterback in the draft, and I think that's a great place for him to go. I love Anthony Lynn, but personally, I think that the best fit for this is kind of a little off topic because we said Tua is definitely most likely going to be going at 5. I definitely think the best fit for Tua would be the Chargers at 6, because I think that's just a style of play that he could thrive in. I don't know, but Herbert at 6 is realistic, and I would like that a lot.
I feel like the Chargers are the best landing spot for every quarterback, though, to be
At the
honest.
moment, yeah,
I think
I
Burrow
agree.
would be better in LA than he would be in Cincinnati, but who knows? With the Chargers saying that they're good with Tyrod, not interested in bringing on Jameis, not interested in trading for Cam, not interested in trading for Dalton, I think that pretty much locks them up taking one of these top 3 quarterbacks, because Tyrod obviously not the answer. So I'm very excited to see if Jameis Winston gets another chance somewhere, though, too.
Yeah, I mentioned earlier that the Chargers are a possible trade-up partner with someone like the Lions.
Mm-hmm. And then the Lions can sign
or even
Jameis.
I've seen
or
the
even the Giants.
Redskins twice trade down.
Yeah, that'd be interesting. I feel like
I don't know.
the Lions would be the number 1 spot to go. Like, I feel like if the Chargers traded with the Lions to get up, then maybe the Redskins will trade with the Dolphins so the Dolphins can get up. I feel like the first option will be the Lions.
We are also kind of forgetting that the Redskins did bring in Tua, talk to him. I don't think it's going to happen, but there's still at least some chance.
Well, Dan
I mean,
Snyder
the Lions always bring in quarterbacks to talk to them, get inside their head, but they don't ever draft them.
And Dan Snyder loves
Projecting
Dwayne
Tua this year,
Haskins.
confirmed. Number 3.
Confirmed.
You're
Number
seeing
3
that.
to the Lions.
That would be the worst.
So this is a bit off topic, but do you guys agree that Jameis Winston? There should be a rule that Jameis Winston has to be a starting quarterback for an NFL team because it's just so fun to watch him throw 30 touchdowns and 30 interceptions in the same season. Do you guys agree?
Yeah.
Is that in the new CBA?
I should have been part of it because what's more fun than 5,000, 30, and 30? Like, honestly, that'd be the best thing. That's the best thing ever.
Give me a
He
second.
finished as the
5,000,
6th best
30 and
quarterback
0.
last year after throwing 30 picks.
I need to look at my
It's so
dynasty
beauty.
team real quick, see what wide receivers I have that have trash quarterbacks, then make Jameis go there so that they're relevant in fantasy.
Any
Oh, Kenny Galladay.
All right, that's the end of the show.
Dead air.
Oh, very heated. Yeah, that's.
How would you feel if the Bengals got him and then drafted Chase Young number 1 overall?
I'd be fine with that because then we can get Trevor Lawrence next year.
Nope.
Woo!
Nope. They
Five year, $30 million for Jameis,
Nope.
starting quarterback for the next 5 years for the Cincinnati Bengals.
Make
Trevor
him the
Lawrence.
highest paid quarterback in the league.
And then get Baby Manning. So
I'll take Arch.
You gotta suffer for 4 more years.
I wouldn't suffer. I got Jameis.
True. You'd have a lot of highs and lows, so I guess they kind of even out. You'd be like, oh my god, first play of the game, interception, what a surprise. They'd be like, he just threw for 460 yards, but we just lost 30-26.
Yeah. I mean, what's better than having championships and crab legs? And that's exactly what Jameis is going to bring to a franchise.
He's gonna eat that
He's
dub.
gonna eat the dub.
He's going to eat the dub.
Just
That was a great impression. All right, that's it for the episode, guys. We want to thank you for coming out and giving us a listen. If you want to stay up to date with all that we do, you can go over on Twitter at WNP Sports Pod. Follow us there. We'll let you know what's happening. Make sure you guys like, subscribe, and hit the bell. This is kind of weird. We're on YouTube now. But, yeah, like, subscribe, hit the bell. Go ahead, throw in the comments down there what you guys think some of these teams should do or what free agent signings you guys like the most.
or talk about how handsome I am.
Don't do that. Thanks so much for stopping by, guys. Thanks so much for listening. And as always, we're not professionals.